Welcome back to another episode of the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast. Help us spread awareness for men's mental health and the gospel of Jesus Christ by ringing the bell and subscribing to the channel. Please bow with me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Just thank you for this opportunity to sit down with Adam tonight and to share his story. Lord, I pray you'll fill me with your Holy Spirit. You'll lead this conversation and guide me, Lord. And I pray we can reach those out there that feel lost and feel like they don't have any purpose, especially those that are in the military or first responder world where they're leaving a job that's been their identity for so many years. I just pray, Lord, tonight that we can spread your gospel and also just raise awareness for mental health. Thank you again for Adam tonight, and I ask that you bless his family, lead this conversation, and bless both of us. It's in your mighty name I pray. Amen. Welcome back to the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Steve. Hey, if you're new here, this platform is about raising awareness for mental health and also spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ. We have a lot of veterans and first responders that come on this show, but we're a little different here. We're about identity, purpose, and resilience. We're not here just to glorify the job or the cool guy stories. We're here to actually help other people find their purpose, find their identity after the uniform, and to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. If you're, like I said, if you're new, ring that bell, subscribe to the channel. New episodes drop every week. I'm joined tonight by a senior NCO, combat medic, drill sergeant, and a keynote speaker, discipline coach, and he's the creator of the RTD System. Adam Johnson is joining me tonight, and he's here to share his story, talk about resilience, purpose, and how to help men find more purpose in life and how to find more resilience and to stay driven. Adam, thank you so much for coming on the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast tonight, brother.
Man, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. But let's go back to one little thing you did talk about. You drill sergeant, and I was a drill sergeant, but once a drill sergeant, always a drill sergeant. So with that being said, why is your cover on inside? I don't understand. There are standards and discipline, yet you are not living the standard. Why? What's the problem?
Because Mr. Nick Lavery.
No, I don't need an answer. No. Positional attention, move. Friendly rest position.
I love it, man. I love it. I just got goosebumps, dude. Yeah, so we had Marine Corps drill instructors when I was in OCS, man, and I think that was one of the most terrifying sights was to wake up and to see 9 DIs coming towards the barracks, and we're like, oh shit, here we go. It was fun though. I actually made pretty good friends with 2 of them after I graduated.
They're a different standard. I will commend them. The DIs, there's like that voice you have to learn. Yeah, they must go to the DI school for that because we go to drill sergeant school. They go to the DI school. It's like you must have to learn that voice because they all have that raspy voice. I don't know where it comes from. I couldn't do it, but
I knew the cover was coming up, man. I was waiting on that. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. Well, Adam, man, thank you again for joining me tonight. And I want to just start from the beginning. Let's talk about where'd you grow up, man? Where are you from?
I am from the suburbs of Chicago. So, and that usually my Chicago comes out when I say the word Chicago. My wife messes with me all the time with that. But suburbs of Chicago. Think of like all those 80s movies. Was it like 16 Candles, all those? That's the area I grew up in. Like I grew up in those, that was my stomping grounds. That was the life I lived in the late 80s and early 90s, just being a kid in the Midwest. There we go.
So is that Cubs territory or White Sox territory?
So I would say it's my family is split. I don't care. I'm not a big sports guy. I don't sports ball very much. But I guess if I had to pick, I would say Cubs because I thought Cubs games were way more fun to go to. I lived downtown in Chicago for many years, and it's just way more fun to go to a Cubs game. And there's a high likelihood that back in the day you wouldn't get robbed if you went to a Cubs game, a Sox game. You might. So
yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because they used to have a nickname for the White Sox, like the something bad boy. I forgot. I used to watch. We had WGN growing up here in Nashville, so I watched the Cubs in the summer when I was out of school because they were on TV all the time, and then every once in a while we see White Sox games, and Michael Jordan, when I was in high school, played for the White Sox. So I actually got to see him at spring training down in Sarasota when I was a kid. I played baseball, so we were always watching it on TV. But so growing up, you weren't really did you not play sports, I guess, growing up?
I did play sports. And when I was young, I wasn't. I think now it's this kind of thing I strayed away from for lots of reasons. I think there's some reasons now. And honestly, I'm so focused on what I'm doing. I don't have the time for it. And that's what it comes down to. But no, I grew up playing football my whole life. Bears fan was a kid. I played high school football. I tried to play college football. That didn't work out, unfortunately. That's kind of where my whole story starts.
Okay.
But yeah.
What about like growing up? What about going to church? Was that a regular thing in your family?
It was for a little bit. I would say that we went to church regularly from like ages probably 7 or 8 until I was probably in like high school or so, and then it kind of drifted away. But my parents, they did instill, Christian beliefs, and we
Okay.
did do that for a long time. But I would say when I got a little older, my parents started straying. I couldn't even tell you why to this day, but we did start drifting away from the church, not in a negative way. It just became not a thing anymore. And to
Yeah.
this day, I guess I really couldn't tell you why.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times too, like life, especially if you're playing sports and you got other activities going on, it can be hard to kind of maintain that routine. As I think, at least as you get older, like in your teenage years and you're driving, you're kind of doing your own thing, it can be challenging. So you mentioned you wanted to play college football. So when you got out of high school, which way did life take you?
So in high school, I was really good, and I thought, hey, I'm this big fish in a small pond.
Hmm.
All state, doing my thing. I'm going to play college football, and the problem was I was a 5'10" middle linebacker that was good at the high school level, but when I got to play with the big, even at Division III, like some of these schools you'd go to, no, it wasn't happening. Like you
Yeah.
think you're good until you actually match up with someone that actually is on a higher echelon, higher level than you, and it just didn't work out. Unfortunately, I was trying to play at NIU. Uh, I was gonna make a practice team. What juice wasn't worth the squeeze to me, unfortunately,
Yeah.
and it just didn't happen. And I think that's kind of when I had a first, I call it like I guess an identity crisis
Mm.
after that, and I didn't know what to do with my life, and I kind of down spiraled. And when you're a high school athlete, you kind of eat whatever you want, you lift heavy. Well, kept eating whatever I wanted, but I stopped lifting and started. And I actually gained in a year after high school 100 pounds.
Wow.
Big boy. I was
So do you think
280, yeah, 280,
you think
275.
you think was there some depression in there that kind of made you comfort yourself with food because you weren't playing college football, you think?
I think I did. I think it was the first time in my life I lost what I thought was my identity. At the
Yeah.
time, my identity was football. I'm going to play college football. That's what I'm going to do. And I no longer had the identity. And I think, yeah, that was a coping mechanism. And I became lazy. And within a year, I remember looking in the mirror and just looking at myself. I had a 42-inch waist.
Wow.
And I was just like, what am I doing to myself? I was just like pure disgust. And I was like, I'm 19, almost 19 years old, and I'm already, 42-inch waist and 275 pounds. What's going to happen when I'm like 42? And I'm 42 now. And I'm like, and it was that first realization, like, I have control of my life. And I just started studying fitness, and I started getting into nutrition, and I started learning as much as I could. And I went a year without cheating, and just ate clean as possible, good, wholesome meals, nothing crazy, no crazy supplements. That's back when like pre-workouts were first starting to come out back in the day, like the NO Explode, and did a little bit of
What?
that stuff. But really, it was just
Yeah.
hard work, working out every day. And I lost 100 pounds in a year. And that
Wow.
motivated me to get into the fitness world. And became a personal trainer in downtown Chicago after that. It was like, that was like my passion, my new identity.
Yeah. Yeah. What year was that?
2005? Yeah, 2005.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of the time when functional fitness, CrossFit was kind of, because it was late to the
Yes.
game here in Tennessee, because I first heard about it in '05 and was like, I'm not doing that. And then, of course, I joined the military and everybody's doing it. I'm like, well, I guess I should have done CrossFit. But
Yeah, CrossFit was starting. That was
yeah,
when CrossFit, especially downtown Chicago, the CrossFit gyms were coming up. It was getting popular. It was a new hotness. I would train like a bodybuilder because
yeah,
that was my next identity was, being a personal trainer, being a bodybuilder. I was gonna, that was my one sport. And to this day, it's the one sport I still follow is
nice.
pro bodybuilding. And I just love the sport aspect of it. I love the whole like building yourself up and trying to do
Hmm.
symmetry of it. And the sport's definitely evolved into a weird way now, but at the end of the day, like that was my next identity was I'm going to be a bodybuilder.
So did you have like any certain bodybuilders that you kind of, I don't want to use the word idolize, but kind of like followed, maybe wanted to be like their, because I can remember a lot of guys like when I was in college in early 2000s, like Rich Piana. I love that
But
dude,
yeah,
man. Like that guy was amazing. Yeah,
Rich,
yesterday was his anniversary too, believe it
he
or not.
was. I used to follow him on social medias and watch his content. I loved Rich because he didn't follow the narrative of typical body. He realized, you know, he wasn't going to play the game anymore, and he did it the way he wanted to. And I respect him for it. I think if he just would have lived his life a little more virtuous, he'd still be around to this day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, he just, he made about too much money too fast with made bad life choices. But I
Hmm.
would say back in the day, I was a big Jay Cutler fan,
Okay.
but really Kai Green. Kai Green was the most underrated
Wow.
bodybuilder. I think he should have been Mr. Olympia many times over and was robbed. But I was a big Kai Green fan. And to this, I've met Jay Cutler in passing one time in Vegas.
Nice.
So that was kind of cool. But Jay Cutler was definitely someone I looked.
And for the people that are watching and listening, we're talking about Jay Cutler, the
Yeah.
bodybuilder, not Jay Cutler, the quarterback. I think he played for the Bears that
He
lives in
did.
Franklin,
He did.
Tennessee now. But yeah, he played at Vanderbilt when I was in college. So, but yeah, we're talking about the real Jay Cutler, like the bodybuilder, Mr. Olympia. Yeah. So just for clarification for our audience tonight. So you get into bodybuilding, you're doing personal training. So you feel like this is your new identity? Do you feel like at that point in your life, you still feel like something's missing? Like there's still more out there?
No, I think I was really young and arrogant, and I was making too much money because I was working my butt off, and I didn't have any. I was living downtown Chicago. I literally could see at the time the Sears Tower from my condo building.
Wow.
I was living it up. I was making stupid money for my age. The problem was I was spending still more money than I was making. And I was back in 2005. I mean, I was breaking near six figures. So I was making good money. But the problem was I still went in debt that year. Like I was still spending more, going out. I wouldn't say abusing alcohol to the fullest, but I was drinking a lot. I was abusing substances at that point. I got into just the wrong crowds. You're young, downtown Chicago, party all day, go back the next day, train clients again.
Yeah.
And it was just not living a good life. And that went on for a while until 2008 happened. And if y'all remember, the whole bubble happened. I trained in the financial district in Chicago. So guess what?
Yeah,
the luxury item of having a personal trainer went away quick. Yeah. So I went from making all this money to like having it cut by like 70%.
Wow.
And, my lifestyle didn't change. And it was that was really kind of what, once again, my identity was taken from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's wild, man. I was just thinking like I was training in 2005 too. I mean, I was already kind of shifting gears by 2008, but that's funny that we're both training in 2005. So that happens like, and I want to ask you this, man, like most people that come on the show have some kind of, family legacy when it comes to the military. Like they either grew up in it or their grandfather or somebody served. What drew you from being this rock star trainer? Now the market falls out. Now you're starting to shift gears again. There's two identity shifts. Like what led you to the Army?
So at that point, it was kind of a real like hit to my ego because I had to move back home with my parents. Because I, back in the suburbs of Chicago, I just couldn't, I was still freelance training, but not making the money I was doing. I couldn't support myself. So I'd moved back with my parents. At that time, my little brother, right out of high school, he's 4 years younger than I, right out of high school, joined the Air Force. He was the first one. No one else in our family was really military. He'd made the choice that's what he was doing. So he was ready in the Air Force, doing his thing, loving life. And I'm the older brother and I'm living at home with mommy and daddy still with no direction, no career, no degree, no nothing, but I can train people. And that was, and I loved being a personal trainer, but like, it's a tough job sometimes. And that like
very tough,
especially when the economy goes bad. Sometimes you're the first thing people cut is they cut, and it's a luxury item for most people.
You put it best. It's a luxury, not a necessity, man. And it probably always be that way.
Yeah. So that was like, what am I going to do with my life?
Yeah.
And I pondered that for a year because I had, once again, my identity was taken from me. I'm just, what am I going to do? And then at this point, I'm 20, almost 28 years old. I'm not a young kid anymore. And I'm just like, what's my life? So I was like, okay, I talked to my brother. I've contemplated for about 6 months. And one day I walk into the recruiter station, like the good old, all the branches are there. I walk in and I realized, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to join the Air Force. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be an Air Force medic. So I was like, you know what should I do? I'll be in the medical field. Maybe I want to go to PA school eventually, but medical, right? Personal trainer, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I walk into the Air Force recruiter station and they sit down. They're super nice. They have the latte for you in the Air Force. No. And they tell me, hey, it's awesome you want to join, but no, we can't take you. I'm like, what'd I do wrong? They're like, you're too old. At the time, I was too old to enlist.
No, I didn't think
so
of that.
It was a blow. I'm like, whoa, I'm too old to enlist in the Air Force. So I walk out and, it's one of those recruiter stations when you walk out, there's all the other doors there.
Oh, they're waiting for you. Yeah.
What am I going to do? So then I look over at the Navy and I'm like, hey, no offense. I'm not a big water guy. I'm not a fan of water.
I get it, man. You're not offending me, dude.
And here's the thing. I knew I couldn't guarantee to be a corpsman.
Yeah.
And the Navy doesn't guarantee you that. So I was like, okay, well, I want to be medical. The Navy's not going to guarantee me that. And I'm not a big water guy, so I don't want to do that. The Marines don't have medical because they rely on the Navy. And I just didn't, I love my Marines, but it wasn't the path I wanted at 28 years old to be a Marine.
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh, I guess it's the Army. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
I told the recruiter that when I walked in. I'm like, well, I want to be a 68 whiskey. I knew I did my research that I could, as long as I passed the ASVAB, I can join as a medic. And he was trying to sell me on the other jobs. And I was older. I'm like, look, bro, I'll be a medic. And if it comes up, give me a call. He's like, no, we can make it happen. And 3 weeks later, I was at Fort Benning, Georgia training.
Wow, that was fast.
It was
yeah,
fast.
that was fast.
It was very fast.
So you had this vision or this idea you want to be a medic. When you walk in the office, I mean, you had to have seen some kind of pamphlets on like SF or the Ranger Battalion. Did any of that stuff cross your mind at that point, or was it you just so hyper focused on being a medic?
It did. I loved special forces. Actually, I remember my senior year of high school, you had to do in English, we had to do like a final big report kind of thing. It was like a great graduation requirement. I did mine on Navy SEALs. So I remember like looking into special operations and learning about special operations and always having a love for like the military movies and the special op guys. So I always had a fascination with that. And it was in the back of my head that I knew that I could possibly go that route, but really I was really, I'm 28 now. I'm not 22 years old anymore. So I'm like, PA school, I'm thinking I can go be a PA and do all that kind of stuff and do a medical. And that was like my new identity. I was a combat medic. And for the first time, it was just having an identity that once again, I was focused on, but I was super proud of it. I will say that when I was the most proud 29-year-old private first class you're ever going to meet at 29 years old. Didn't matter. I didn't care. I didn't care if the sergeants were older than me. I didn't care my drill sergeants. I didn't care. I was proud. I was a combat medic. I accomplished it.
Yeah.
And I still remember this day, just showing my first unit, just don't care. Oh, you're the old guy. Don't care. You know what? I'm happy to be here.
Is that going through basic at 28 with all those knuckleheads right out of high school? That had to be hard, man.
Yes and no. Here's where it was not. I knew this going in. I spoke to the people that were already in them because I had a lot of friends that joined. So when I was a high school, 9/11 happened when I was a senior. So I had a lot of friends that joined right away, boom, right? Yeah. And so I had a lot of intel and like, hey, they gave me a lot of advice. Like, look, it doesn't matter what you do at basic training, you're going to fail. Just accept the fact they're going to yell at you. You're never going to accomplish a task correctly. It's a game. So when I going in knowing that, and also knowing that I wasn't missing my parents, like an 18, first time away from home. Yeah. I didn't have someone waiting for me at home either. It was just like, it's just me there. And I'm like, okay, I already know I'm going to get there and I'm going to fail every task and I'm going to get smoked every day. So knowing that, it made it a way easier to just accept the fact that this is just a process. And I knew about the drill sergeants. I knew it was business. It wasn't personal. I used to tell my trainees that all the time. This isn't personal. It's business. And for me, basic, really, it wasn't that bad. And same with AIT for us, for individual training, for the medic. I was there to complete my job, to become a medic.
Where was AIT at? Was it at Benning also?
Fort Sam, Houston. So all combat medics actually all medical. So if you're Air Force, Navy, all of it is right here. I'm still in San Antonio right now. It's right here at Fort Sam, Houston.
Oh, okay. Very cool, man. So you get through all that training. Now you're in the Army, and I wanted to cover this because I think this would be, I could be mistaken, but I think you're the first guest I've had on the show where I can kind of relate to going into a pipeline that has a high attrition rate and then carrying those ghosts for a period of time. So can you kind of walk us into that next door of your Army career? You know where I'm going. You know where I'm going with this.
I know where you're going with this one. And once again, it comes back to, and this is to be the whole trend of the podcast is going to be identity. And my new identity was, you know what? I want to go to PA school. I was doing college at the same time. So I'm part-time, I was doing college. I'm going to get my PA. But in the meantime, I'm like, you know what? I think I want to be an 18 Delta, a special operations medic. And I started really getting serious about it. So at the base I was at the time, Fort Hood, I was going to special operations PT in the morning. I did this for a year and a half, training up with the special, because you have like a SF recruiter that's stationed there, and his job is to do PT with you before you go to selection. And I did for a year and a half, and I just worked with him.
Yeah,
train my butt off. Read you name a book out there, get selected. Any book, I read it. I was just so engulfed and so hyper focused on that. And then I had this amazing opportunity come my way, and they did it for a short period where there's the 18 X-rays. They're the ones that can come into the Army and go right to special to try out force to be a Green Beret.
Yeah.
Well, they have at the time they had a program called SOPSI. They call it something else now, I'm sure. And it's like a pre-selection they go through while they're at Fort Bragg. Well, what they realized is all these 18 X-rays had a high pass rate in selection. All the active duty guys had a lower pass rate in getting selected. However, in the Q course, they noticed 18 X-rays would have a higher fail rate, but the active duty guys would pass higher if they made it on because they knew the Army already. They understood
yeah.
Army.
That
So
makes
they're like,
sense.
okay, how do we bridge that gap? So their test was, let's take a bunch of, I think it was a couple hundred total soldiers. We got to go to SOPSI. We got to go to Camp McCall early and be with 18 X-rays. And so I spent 54 days on Camp McCall when most people spend 21, maybe 24 days or depending. I spent over 50 doing SOPSI, training with, these Green Beret instructors, learning everything about selection. We learned so before we get to classes, we were there, weeks earlier doing everything and working out, and they feed you. By the way, they feed you like a king at SOPSI. We get the defect for the special ops guys. You're on the weekends, you can't work out, you get to stretch, they give you a foam roller, like there's recovery. It's all about making you ready for selection.
Yeah.
And then day one rolls in and then all hell breaks loose. But I had this mindset where I didn't have my phone. I had one book with me. That's all you're allowed, one book. And you train. You train, you work out, you train, you learn land nav, you learn all the things that it's going to make you successful to get through selection. So for 3 weeks of just being hyper focused, nothing else, right? And I was like, I'm going to do this. I had this belief that I was going to be a Green Beret. And I was like, because I was killing it. I was the physical stuff, the runs, the rucks. There wasn't a problem. I was healthy. I was feeling good. And boom, selection comes. And I'm just pumped. I'm like, I got this. And every day I'm waking up, I'm like, I used to, I hate to say, I used to thrive on watching people quit. That fueled me. Every time someone quit, you wake up in the morning, because they didn't have the guts to quit during the day, so they quit during the night. I'm sure it happened the same for budge training. Quit during the night. You wake up like, I'm still here. I'm still here. And then right before we went into doing the land nav portion at selection, you have a roster number, right? And that morning, I hear my roster number called out, and me and like 20 other guys was there. And then and it's weird because you're in this platoon now. They take you in this formation. You're with captains. I was with Ranger guys, already had tabs. You're just it's just a mix. You don't know what's going on. You're like, these are guys. There's guys are just studs around me too. And there's like 20 of us. And then they take us in the room one by one. You go in there. There's a sergeant major in there, and he just says, "Hey, I really appreciate you coming out and your hard work. But at this time, you're not what we were looking for. If you want to come back in 6 months, you can come back." And he's like, "Do you have any questions?" I'm like, "Well, why?" He's like, "It's classified. I can't tell you." But he also would say this. He's like, "The Army will never know why either." It's the only people that know. And I've had colonels that were in special operations try to find out for me because this was a blow, and no one can find out. No one's allowed to ever know why you didn't get selected. I think it's because that protects the program. But to this day, I have speculations now on why I didn't. But I still can't tell you this is why I didn't get selected. I don't know.
Do you think, I know I'm going to tread lightly here. The blue side of the house is a lot like a fraternity, and you could be a superstar stud. And if you're not well liked, you don't get along with people, they can find a reason to get rid of you. Is the SF pipeline kind of similar?
There are peer reviews during SF, and you can get peered out. And that's actually what a lot of the active duty guys went through SOPSI didn't realize. When I went through, I was a staff sergeant, E6. A lot of staff sergeants were there. And, you get these 11 X-rays, they're privates. And these staff sergeants thought they were going to tell this private what to do. Like, dude, we're the same right now. Like, your rank is irrelevant. They didn't understand that. So they made enemies. These little like 18 X-ray kids, they came in together. They've been hanging out for months. They're buddies. So if you didn't get good with them, that could be a problem. You had to be a team player. So I realized that, and I don't think my problem was that. I don't really know, to be honest. I can speculate, but here's the thing. I used to make excuses and speculate, and because this crushed me to the point where like I was depressed. I was extremely depressed when I had to go to Tent City, because Tent City is where you go if you either quit and or are told you're not, you have to be there for a couple of days. So I had to sit in Tent City because you don't get to go right away. Like, even though they told me I was stuck at Camp McCall for 3 extra days, just sitting in this little area they call Tent City, and you're with all the quitters too. And no one knows, the cadre over you there. You're all quitters. So now you're categorized as a quitter. And it was a blow. It was a blow. And to top it off, I get back, and I'm married at the time, and that wasn't going well, and that crumbled as soon as I got back. And at that point, I lost my identity of who I was in the military anymore, because I was still, I was a platoon sergeant still. I was still a combat medic. I'm proud of that, but my identity became, once again, I'm going to be a special, I'm going to be a Green Beret. I'm going to earn that. And that became everything. And that took me a very long time in my military career to get over and to understand how to get over it. But in the meantime, I can tell you, it got dark and I became an extreme
Before you get into that, I have a quick question, Adam. So did you ever consider going back and trying to get through again?
I did for a little bit, but I can tell you, I trained so hard and I was so deflated afterwards. I don't think I could have kept training at that level anymore. I just didn't want to. I stopped.
Yeah.
I still would work out, I'd still do normal, high, be fit, but I wasn't training at that elite level anymore. And the drinking didn't help. And
Yeah.
I think if I had a mentor at the time, or I had better guidance, or a better spiritual mindset, maybe I could have gotten back there. But I went the opposite direction. I self-pitied. I felt sorry for myself. I blamed everyone else. I made excuses why I didn't get selected. And every night, I just turned to alcohol every night. There wasn't a day. That's going to be a guarantee every single night. It's just drown our sorrows.
Where was God in all this, man? Were you even like in a point in your life where you were talking to him, or were you still kind of just focused on drowning and I don't mean literally, but like just numbing, I should say numbing, not drowning, but numbing everything.
No, there was no, I'll say this, there was no spirituality. It was me against the world at that point. And
Yeah.
my whole life, so my personal life was just going down the drain. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my rest of my career. My marriage was done, and I'm still a platoon sergeant at this point.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing holding me afloat. Somehow I was able to show up every morning and just be the stellar platoon sergeant, put the show on. And it got to the point where I could drink a half bottle every night and wake up the next morning, still run before PT, get the PT with my guys, and I'm fine. And I'm not showing, I'm not smelling like it. And I started wearing that as a badge. And I think that was my only way of getting over it or coping, was like, it was almost a game. Like, you know what? I can do this still. I can still play the Army game and be the stellar NCO on paper and be the platoon sergeant and be a hypocrite while I'm yelling at my guys that are they're hungover because, one, I'm like looking down on them because they can't handle it. That's at the time, that's how it was. Like, oh, I can handle it. Why can't you? Like, this is, come on, man, just man up. You're going to party.
Yeah.
And it just got bad to the point where I was just alone, and I had no one to turn to. But all I had was the Army. I had my at the time I had my platoon and being a platoon sergeant. But guess what? Once again, all things in the military come to an end, and something else has to change. And my time as a platoon sergeant, I had a PCS from Fort Hood at the time. It's where I was, and so that ended. And then once again, I was kind of at a loss.
Yeah. So when you exited SF, the pipeline, did you go back to your old unit, or how does that process work?
You do. You go back to your old unit. And I went back to being a platoon sergeant, and I was right back in that position. And it was hard because one of my privates, and I'm very proud of him, by the way. One of my privates at the time, he went a class after me.
Okay.
And he not only got selected, he is now an 18 Delta in the operating force. Like, first time goes and everything, first time dive go. Like, this guy is and I'm so proud. I got to meet him afterwards. He got to come talk to my privates when I was a drill sergeant, actually. So I was super proud. But I remember when he made it and I didn't, and I'm just like, that was another blow. It was tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're just back in the fighting force.
Okay.
Back in your unit, and hey, you didn't make it.
So how do you transition into a drill sergeant? Where does that happen? Like, when does that come about?
So that happened. I had to PCS, and I went from the infantry world, being a medical platoon sergeant in the infantry, to, hey, you're going to go to Fort Sam Houston to Brooke Army Medical Center, which is major hospital here. It's the second biggest hospital the Army has, next to Walter Reed. And you're going to go run the Department of Pediatrics for San Antonio. So I went from being an infantry, combat medic platoon sergeant to running multiple clinics and doing pediatric care for all the soldiers and airmen and Navy's kids, and overseeing clinics and being an NCOIC. And COVID hit at the same time. This is all when COVID hit. So I get there, COVID hits, and all of a sudden I went from being in the Army to not being like an office manager. So my identity is just taken from me. Now, granted, I had an outstanding boss at the time, the colonel that was over me. the chief, outstanding guy, great mentor. And I think that kind of helped me stay afloat a little bit. But I like, what am I doing? Every day I'm just sitting at a desk now in an office hearing kids cry because they're getting their shots. Like the immunization room's down the hall. Little kids are crying all the time. I'm like, this is what I signed up for. Like this is my life now. Like I went from the infantry to trying to be a Green Beret to now being an office manager.
Yeah.
And it was tough. And I remember my first sergeant at the time was like, what are you going to do with your life now? Like in the military, he's like, you have your platoon sergeant time. You're getting looked at for E7. And you haven't done, in the Army at least, if by the time you hit E67, if you don't pick like a voluntary thing to do, the Army's going to pick for you, whether it's recruiter, drill sergeant, instructor of some sort. The Army's just going to say, hey, this is what you're going to do. And I was coming up on that. So my first one was like, hey, why don't you just volunteer and be a drill sergeant? I'm like, I don't want to be a drill sergeant. I have to go back to basic training pretty much. I don't want to do that. I don't want to yell at kids. And it's going to be, and I fought him on it. He's like, I'm telling you, it's great for your career because you should be, your E8 will be streamlined. And I sat and pondered. I'm like, well, what do I have? Nothing going for me. And the drinking is still bad at this point where it's COVID times. It's still bad. It's actually worse because I have an office job and then it's COVID. I don't have to show up to work like 3 times a week because it's COVID. I can't even go to the hospital every day. So guess what? I'm drinking by noon every day during COVID. COVID for me was a mess. And I realized, I'm like, well, if I go to drill sergeant school, maybe that'll help me because I have to get focused. I have to go back to basic almost, and I'll stop drinking. And I can get on the path, and I had this little bit of like a gleam, like I need to get a hold of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to drill sergeant school, and I was like, I'm not going to drink during drill sergeant school because the thing is, it is like basic training when you're there during the day, but once the day's over, like you're free to go do what you want on the weekends. You can go with the boys, and I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to do this. I'll be the DD for my guys there. I'll take care of them, and I did that for the first 2-3 weeks, and then, like all your temptation rolls in, and before I know it, like 3 weeks after, I'm just every weekend on back to my old self again, partying, drinking, and showing up like still like I can go through drill sergeant school hungover, not a big deal. I'll be honest, it happens to a lot of people that go through drill sergeant school, but it was like that. I still didn't answer the solution to the drinking, but it did give me an identity. I was proud once again. I got my brown round. I went back to Fort Sam Houston. So I was with the combat medics. I became a senior. I promoted to E7 right away, became a senior drill sergeant. And I loved that. And that was my new identity. But still, once again, I was a hypocrite because I'm still drinking every single night. And then I'm yelling at trainees about like standards and discipline, even though like that night prior, I'm getting obliterated.
Yeah.
So I'm a hypocrite still. And deep down, like I hate myself at this point, even though I have this identity as a drill sergeant, like I hate myself.
Did you have any like close friends or anyone you could kind of like, and this is probably a dumb question because I'm hearing you talk and a lot of this I'm really relating to. Did you have anybody you could talk to and just say, man, I'm just really not myself. Like I'm not, I mean, you're dealing with marriage issues. Let's just be honest, man, we kind of glossed over this, but for anybody watching this, I mean, when you go to a selection like SF and you don't make it, that is a lot to deal with, man. And I think it doesn't get analyzed a lot because you're already got a mark on you. You're already made fun of. I mean, it's on Instagram every day. People like that have never even had the balls to join the military or clowning on guys that didn't make it through whatever school. I mean, did you have, I see it all the time about buds, and it's like, did you have anybody you could kind of talk to and just say, hey man, like I'm fucked up, man. I need somebody to kind of give me some direction? Or was it more like I'm just going to drink, I'm just going to do my thing and prove to the world that I'm not who they say I am? Was it one of those kind of things?
It was exactly that. It was, I turned my back on everyone, my family. I for a while, I didn't even speak to my mom at the time. I turned my back on anything and everyone because at that point, I didn't trust anyone in my life. The people that I did trust broke my trust severely in my life. And I could no longer, I turned away from everyone. And I had some friends, but unfortunately, the friends I started to surround myself with were good people, but they also were drinkers. They were partiers, and we did that stuff. And, I was just not knowing where to turn. And at the time, the only other thing that I enjoyed doing when I wasn't drinking was, it was during COVID, so there wasn't a lot of stuff to do. So what am I going to start doing? So I started building ARs. I just like building guns. I was learning how to build guns and ARs. So I started getting into the gun world. And, I met some guys online that were into it, and we just were like, hey, let's start a podcast, let's talk about guns. Why not? And it was just dumb thing. We bought some crappy cameras, some crappy microphones, and we got Riverside and like, we're just going to post on YouTube. And it was funny because the first 10, 12 episodes were just trash. But then all of a sudden we started getting some people that guests on that were like in the world of the gun world. And before we knew it, it turned into like a thing and turned into a business thing. And it was like, what's happening? And it was a new identity once again.
Yeah.
The problem was that identity still revolved around drinking. Extremely. And it still didn't help that aspect of my life. So I kept just finding ways, like in the time was, what's my next identity? What's my next identity? What's the thing I have to identify myself with?
Yeah.
And, being a podcaster and then being in the gun world and then getting to the point where like, I get to go to SHOT Show every year and you get to go meet all these cool people that you see on Instagram. And anyone you see on Instagram that's gun content, I either know them personally or I've met them or I have their phone number. Like I'm like in this world now, but then I'm in this world and I'm going to Vegas and I'm like, I'm going to these gun shows and they're just all people do is drink and party. Not all, I shouldn't say all, but a good portion. And it's like, once again, like this is not the life that I wanted for myself. And so I'm in the military, I'm faking it there. I'm faking it on camera now because now I'm posting content and I'm trying to be this like fit person, just gun content. And then I have, but at the end of the day, like when the camera goes off, I hate myself still. I don't like who I am. I'm a hypocrite. I literally am like just drinking myself to sleep every night.
Do you have, and if you're comfortable sharing this, if not, it's okay, but do you have a rock bottom moment with alcohol? Is there a point where you just finally said, okay, I've got to make a change? Like this is not productive. This is not helping me. Was there ever a moment like that for you?
But yeah, there was a huge moment. It's in my book, and there was finally, you talked about a person, you mentioned it. Like, was there someone you could lean on? Well, there was someone I met on Instagram and we were just friends. He was, his story was he was dealt with sobriety and he kept falling off, eventually became, he's a coach. His name is Michael. And he was just an Instagram guy that talks about, sobriety, and he talks about living spiritually, Christ. And we became friends. And he didn't realize at the time, because I was still pretty physically fit and we were both into fitness, and I became his friend and we were doing like Instagram lives together. And, he would talk about his sobriety journey the whole time. Once again, I'm still drinking, like extreme. And he's not, I think he probably knew I drank, but he didn't know that I had a problem because I could fake it really well. But then we'd get on these talks and he would just talk about like his struggle. And I'm listening to this. I'm like, I'm living this guy's story. He's talking about, I'm still living it. And there was this day where I was in my apartment and I realized like I have no one in my life. I'm completely lonely. I could turn on Instagram and hit some of the DMs and talk to them, or I can turn a camera on and get a bunch of likes on social media. But I was alone. I had nobody besides these fake people, quote unquote. I really had no one to like turn to. And I was just sitting there, I'm lonely and I'm just like, I hate my life. I have no one that at that point loves me. I don't love myself. I have no one. And I just remember calling Michael and it was this random phone call and he picks up and I just start crying. And I don't know, to me, like I was crying to another grown man. That was a tough one, but like, I couldn't even help it anymore. I started bawling. I just told him my whole story and he just listened. And he probably, I don't know how long, maybe an hour. And I just kept going on and on and on. And he just listened and listened and listened. And he didn't give me advice at the end. He didn't judge me. He just listened. And it was the first time I think I had someone that just like let me get it out. The first time I got to say I was an alcoholic. The first time I actually admitted that I'm just this hypocrite and I hated who I was. And he just was there for me. And he became that rock for me for a little bit where I could lean on him. I could talk to him about it. And that's when I kind of started my journey of like stopping. I had to stop this. I need to figure out who I am. And that was the first time in my life we kept talking about identity. We kept talking about from football. And what I realized finally, I had an epiphany, and he was part of the epiphany, was I kept trying to tie my identity to a thing, to a title, to a position. And what I realized is identity is about finding who you are. So my identity became, I need to be Adam. That's my identity. What are my morals? What are my values? What am I aligned with? That is my identity, not my job title, not some position, not a tab on my shoulder, not any of those things, not being a YouTuber, none of that. Those are attributes. And that's when it just clicked. And when I say that, it wasn't like the next day I woke up and I stopped drinking. What had happened was I would get better and better every day. I started writing down and journaling what was working, what wasn't working. I would stop drinking for 4 days and drink again. Then I would go 3 weeks and then I'd fall off. Then I'd go a month. I think one time I went 3 months. And then there was just a day. So we in Texas, I don't know if you know this, we don't sell liquor on Sundays.
Yeah, I figured.
It's God's day. We only sell liquor on the holy day.
They used to not do that here in Tennessee, and they changed it.
Yeah, so they don't. So I always knew I was a pro. It's Saturday. How much do I have? Hey, we better go to the liquor store, stock up, right?
Yeah.
And there was a Saturday, and I was pretty much out, and I remember like, yeah, I'm good. And it wasn't an urge. Like I'm good. And after that day, and I purposely don't remember that exact day. I can't tell you how many days sober I am. And people that count, it just wasn't, I just decided I'm not going to, I know roughly how long, but I couldn't tell you to the day. I know the month. I know the about week, but I still didn't remember like the exact time. It just was just, nah. And the next day I woke up, I'm like, I feel good today. I would journal and write down like who I am, my values, my morals, like what path am I on? What am I doing right? I kept writing all this down, and it allowed me to like clear my head and realize like I'm aligning myself and I'm being the person that I want to be. I'm living by morals now. I'm living by values. And that's kind of how like the whole RTD system came, the whole system of like what got me finally breaking the pattern of just being an alcoholic.
That's amazing, man. Because a lot of people, I mean, that just shows what kind of discipline you have, because a lot of people, they need to find that, like AA or a men's group or something to help along the process. And I'm glad you had that friend to kind of, you could talk to and kind of open and share with. And that's for people watching. I mean, that's so important to have at least one person in your life that you can talk to and that you can process everything that you're going through. Cause I know as men, it's easy to isolate and to stay quiet and to just, doom scroll and not think about what you're going through. And I think that's the hardest thing for people to realize, man, is when you stop drinking, you have to sit in that stuff. You're not numbing it anymore. You got I mean, it sucks. I mean, and I'm not going to go into this because we talked off camera, but like men that have been through a divorce and you're not drinking through that, it's brutal. I mean, it's brutal, dude. I mean, it's horrible.
No, 100%. And it was, what helped me really though, it was the writing, the journaling, the understanding the identity. And that was the first time like in my life that I understood identity. So I started saying, okay, my identity is who I am, my moral, this is my code I'm going to live by. I kept talking about this. And what happened was I started like, okay, what's my next code going to be? And I started writing my next code. And then like, what's the next code? And before I knew it, I've come up with these 5 codes. And I still use the RTD system as 5 codes. It's identity, clarity, environment, friction, and self-trust. And I kept going back to every time I'd fail, I'd go back to which code did I fail and why did I fail it? And then I would, well, okay, next time I'm going to try this. And my whole system, like I developed, it was for me. I to this day, I'm client 0. The RTD system was for me. It still is. I still use these codes daily. And it was just developing systems. You mentioned the word, and that's my word, is discipline. And everyone will give you, if you ask a different person, they'll tell you a different definition of discipline. For me, discipline is alignment and says system in place. It's not motivation. And those guys that want to sell motivation to you, hey, no, nothing against them. I love my Goggins. I love my Jockos. Their mentality of discipline is a little different than mine. My discipline isn't in your face suffering. My discipline is building systems in place that keep you consistent daily and hitting a non-negotiable every day. So building those non-negotiables, having a system that allows you to get those in no matter what. If I say I'm going to do this, okay, I'm going to do this, and here's how I can systematically make sure I do. Even if there's an issue that day, there's still a way to combat those issues. And that's kind of what worked for me, was building a system. And that, to me, that's what discipline is.
So let's go back to your personal training days, man. Cause I mean, we both know the fitness world and being trainers. You think that foundation helped you with the RTD system because you've already done the diet? You said you lost 100 pounds. You think that played a role when it came to aligning yourself to where you weren't relying on alcohol and you were kind of staying locked on?
I think so, because I understood a long time ago. I think there is a mental aspect of when you first start something, you have to have that old school mental discipline of just suck it up and do it. Yeah. And I think I understood that, but that only lasts so long. And the motivation kicks in. So I think being physically fit, and keep in mind, this whole story I told you, once I lost the weight, like I was still rocking a 6-pack the entire time. I still had low body fat. Like I still looked even though I wasn't healthy in my opinion,
I
like
know you
because I
were.
was putting
Yeah.
my body, I was still looking the part. I was still training. I could still get up and
Yeah.
train every day. So do I think that helped? I do think it helped. But at the end of the day, I knew how to train myself physically. It was the mental and emotional where I had to retrain myself
Yeah.
and become strong. Because
Yeah.
I do believe that's the hard part. It's easy to get physically fit. And I say that to like, no, I do. I think, but to train our brains,
Yeah.
to
No,
train
it's
the
way
way we
harder.
think,
Yeah.
to realign ourselves mentally and spiritually is truly for me, that's why I feel is took a lot of work at first to understand. But once I understood it and I started implementing systems in place, it felt
Mm-hmm.
right.
Well, you want to hear an unpopular opinion? I was bigger, faster, and stronger when I was a drinker. I was a better athlete when I drank. Now, I'm not saying you guys should be drinking, but
No.
Steve Morris was a much better like physical version when I was a drinker. Now, granted, I'm older now, but still, I mean, that whole you talking like getting up next day hitting PT, hell yeah, dude, go to the
Heck
gym
yeah.
hungover. Now it's like, man, my shoulders hurt, my knee
Yeah.
hurts, but you should feel great. You're sober. Oh yeah, feel like
It's
a rock
true.
star. But
It's
it's
true.
weird, man. It's like, and it's probably our generation. I'm a little bit older than you, but I think like our generation, we were just, yeah, you were a badass. If you could, like, I ran my first half marathon still drunk. And you know why I did it? I thought I could get through buds if I could run a half marathon drunk. That's how stupid I was at 24. I was like, oh, I got mental toughness. No, you're an idiot.
Hey, you wore it as a badge. But you're exactly
Yeah.
right. I mean, I remember I ran multiple marathons where I would still drink all the time. And
Yeah.
I remember like before the army, I was using like I remember just getting high, like smoking a joint after running a marathon, like like or before, or just going out and doing my long runs, and I could do all those things. I didn't matter. I thought those things were like, why wouldn't you do these things? But
Right.
100%.
Right.
To
Yeah.
this day, yeah, I'm 42 now, and like I tell you, like I get up every morning, I run, but there's days I'm like, I don't want to do this today. I'm going to do it. Things are hurting, just achiness. I mean, we got some peptides we mess around with to help a little bit, but overall, yeah, it gets a little harder.
Well, so you're building these systems and you're not drinking alcohol now. Where's Christ in all this? Because I know we're getting there. So does your friend introduce you to Jesus, or how do you leap into that whole new path in life?
I would say Michael didn't lead me into it. He is a religious man.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that there was no lead. I think to this day, I'm a very spiritual person, but I still think I'm on that path of figuring that out, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I have this faith. I have this love in my heart. I have more focus than I've ever had in my entire life. And I think I'm on that. I think that's a journey that I'm still on right now. I do call myself spiritual, but I'm still, I don't want to say I'm figuring it out, but I'm walking that path still. And I don't have the answers. And I think that every day I'm still trying to figure that part of my life out, to be honest.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. No, thanks for sharing that, man. I mean, I know, some people look at me and I don't know what this term means, but I've been called based, or I'm a Christian podcast. And I want to clarify for people watching, I am a Christian, but this is not a Christian podcast. You could come on this as a guest and not be a Christian, or you don't have to be a veteran or a first responder. I just feel like for my journey, this is how I help make disciples, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Jesus. I know, I'm convinced 100%. And I'm not going to get in my whole testimony, but I wouldn't be here. And that's really, for me, Jesus was like the key to my mental health, because I had the mental toughness to run a marathon, to have the discipline to go to the gym, to do the things I didn't want to do. But I didn't have the emotional piece, because I hated myself. I didn't want to live. I didn't want to be a good guy, because I saw good guys as weak. I saw them as like, they're a pushover, they're a punk. But that was just my brain being wired wrong, through childhood and then into early adulthood. So now I see it as, I'm not perfect. Trust me. I get behind the wheel of a car and I'm driving with the traffic in this town. I'm not perfect at all. But I know, like, at the end of the day, that I have grace because of him, and that I can try to do better every day. So I was just curious, man. I like to kind of tie that into each episode, just kind of see, what role faith has played in your journey.
faith is present every day. I have a lot of faith, not just in myself, but I feel in my heart now. And it's something like meeting my wife I have now. She's my best friend. We have our little daughter together, and I
It's
have
awesome.
these feelings now, like especially like, when I held her for the first time, I got to change it. Like there's these feelings of just complete and faith and love that I've never had before. And I think that's leading me to a path of understanding more of that aspect of my life. And
Mhm.
I love it because my best friend is a religious man, a Christian. Most people that I associate with are Christians. And I don't like to say I'm not a Christian. I don't say I am because like once again, I don't want to say I'm something that I'm not, but I have this faith that I'm figuring out. And what I love is everyone in my life that is a Christian, and no one's ever like, well, you need to be a Christian then. They love hearing it's like my journey I'm on, and no one's pressuring me. No one ever pushes me. It's more of a listen now and
Yeah.
understanding like I'm on my path to figuring that out.
Yeah.
Because
And
I think, I'm sorry, I think you
no,
have to
go
figure it
ahead.
yourself, right? No one can do that for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of us, especially men, I think we have to go through trials and hit low points to really understand what our true purpose is and that, where faith lies in our life, because you can go to church, you can quote scripture and you can do all the things, but at the end of the day, until you really experience the hard things in life, man, I think it's really, it's going to be difficult to surrender to Jesus if you haven't gone through these periods where you just don't want to be here anymore, and that may be a bold statement, but I know for me personally, that's what it took for me. And I was raised in a church, dude, but I walked away from God. As soon as I turned 25 and joined the Navy, I was like, I'm going that way. And he was like, nope, you're coming back this way. It's like, but yeah. So, and I think that's great that you're so open-minded and that you have people in your life that aren't trying to force you into something, because that's not going to work. It's like the old DARE program we were in school. Don't do drugs.
I remember that.
Whatever,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Guess what I did right out of high school? To drugs. Yeah.
Loser.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, and that's one thing that's cool about having the podcast is I can talk about them, but I'm not here to like force feed people the Bible or stuff like that.
Well, I know that about you because I watch your content. So we talked about mutual friends we have. We'll just mention Tyler's a mutual friend that we have. You do
Okay, yeah.
that with Tyler. Tyler is that's how we got in the podcast. And the reason me and my co-host Mike got in the podcast is because my first podcast I ever did was the Anti-Hero podcast. I actually went on there back when Tyler wasn't even cool yet. He had it was still coming up, and he got me on as a drill sergeant actually because I was still active drill sergeant at the time.
Yeah.
And he's the reason I got into podcasting.
That's awesome.
So I love watching what you guys do because I see that genuine, like just that love and that you guys have for Christ, and you're not pushing it. You're just, you're expressing how how you've gotten to where you're at. And I love watching that. So I can tell you that like your show right now is like the one that the podcast I'm watching the most.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in the other day too, man. And that Sons of Thunder, I came up with a name, but Tyler came up with a concept. He called me up and I was like, oh yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's do it. And it's just a couple knuckleheads talking about Jesus, man. So it's fun. It's a cool show. But I think one thing, and I say this a lot, man, like what I love about having veterans that come on the show is it's a way to show people another side of Christianity, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it shows that you don't have to be the guy that was brought up in church your whole life or be the guy that went to Bible college. Like Jesus is for everybody. He's not just for one group of folks. And here in Middle Tennessee, there's a lot of church hurt. Church is a big business here. There's guys I could name off. You probably recognize, they all live here.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a machine, dude. It really is. Like the money that's generated from it. And one of the biggest podcasters in the world lives here. And he's rolling with some of these dudes that go to these big churches. But what I'm trying to say is like, I want people to understand, like, it's the relationship piece. It's not the, hey, I have to go to this particular denomination or this particular church. It's the relationship that you have with him. And that's really what I think can help everyone understand. Like, he loves you no matter what. I mean, he's not going to go anywhere. You could say whatever you want to him and do your own thing. He's still waiting. He's still waiting on you. He's not just going to roll out like, well, this guy's a lost cause, which is what I thought for a long time. Like, I'm going I'm going to hell. I might as well have fun doing it. So
there was many, do you many days I said about myself? I would, those exact words.
yeah, that's, man, it's just, it's so sad that so many people feel that way, man.
It is, and that's kind of why. That's why I wrote my book. It was just like I wanted to give people tools, and because everyone's like, I want to help someone. I'm like, okay, what does that mean to help someone? Like, everyone always wants to help someone, and I come from the sales background, being a trainer. You know that. Like, I never helped anyone as a trainer. I had a solution for your problem, by the way.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Oh,
I
yeah,
like that.
I don't help anyone. I have solutions, but it was like, well, what solution can I come up with? Like, helping people is great.
Yeah,
but like, here's the thing, like, I want to give people a solution, an actual like system that and I'm like, well, this worked for me. So I just put pen to paper. I was like, let me write this down and start getting into the meat and potatoes of it and the science behind it. And, I became a reader, by the way. So we just and I still to this day, like I read and just educate and just read and just, I'm like, like nothing I have here is like brand new invent. These are just a bunch of things that worked for me that I pulled from so many other people and I put into my system that works for me and I can work for other people. And that's where I'm at now. And you're talking about helping people. Like I wanted to do it at a higher level with a solution. Like, here, take this thing and just implement it. Just give it your all. Have faith in it.
Yeah.
So,
what's the name of your book?
Redefine the Discipline, RTD.
Nice.
Something right here. Yeah. So just came out. So super excited. By the way, your copy's in the mail. Don't worry.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Yes. Thank you very much.
But it's one of many books coming out. I'm actually on my second book already. I was super excited. I celebrated for a day when that book came out and I was ready on my next book. And I already have 10 more ideas. And like, it's just something where I like, well, what else can I do to help people in other aspects with discipline, being a leader. Where else did I fail in life? Where did I lessons learned? Because I'm a believer that I never want to be known for anything that I accomplished. I want to be known for the things like my failures and how I rose from those failures, how I overcame those failures. And for the longest time, all I cared about was getting that tab, becoming a college football player, becoming this. Now it's like, look, I tell you, my whole book is about failures. My whole book, all it is talks about every bad thing I ever did in life and how I failed at everything and how I finally found a way to overcome it.
How is it now, Adam, like talking about, let's use, SF. How is it now present day talking about that stuff? Do you feel like you've kind of like gotten past all that, or is there still a little bit in there that bothers you?
Not anymore. I've come to terms with that. And I think a big part of it was I have a lot of friends now that I'm honored to call friends that are Green Berets, that are either active duty or they were Green Berets. And, like it's just, and they'll tell you like, dude, it's cool. But like, we're all just humans still. Like, we put these guys on pedestals.
Yeah, we do.
And what I also learned is I've also met a lot of Green Berets that they're bad people. They're just bad. They're not good individuals. They are skilled at a certain thing that they were good at the military, but that doesn't mean you're a god. And meeting a lot of Green Berets now, I'm sure, special operations guys you have too. It's like, you get these guys like, dude, I'm just a guy. I mean, I did a thing and I was good at certain things and I did that. But to me now, I could talk about it. It no longer haunts me. I mean, I'm not sure how you feel, but for me, there's no haunting of it anymore.
That's really good to hear that, man. And I think that's really important for the listeners to hear that. I know for me, I finally made peace with it, but I'll share this. I didn't tell you this on the phone, I don't think, when we talked, but so when I started the podcast, I didn't have as many veterans coming my way. And I had the opportunity to interview a really big time Navy SEAL. And I was really nervous about it because I didn't get the bird. And I felt like, man, I'm guessing getting goosebumps talking about this. I didn't feel worthy of it, dude. Like I was like, man, he's not going to want to talk to me. I'm not a SEAL. Like I couldn't make it. And I prayed about it and I thought, you know what, man, like just do your thing. And he was really cool, really humble. And I'm not going to call him out on here, but he's really well known online. And we talked about his time in the teams, but then we really got into the important stuff. So then as I had him on, it was funny, man. I had like more and more come my direction. And now it's like, yeah, I respect it because I wanted to be a Navy SEAL my whole life. But now I'm like, man, there's more to this dude than just a warfare device. And it's easy to say that when you're sitting behind a microphone. But I had a guy on last week, and I'll tell you his name, Cruz. He owns Brother Apparel. He's one of the coolest dudes I've ever met, man. And that cat he was like, the first thing he said was, dude, I want to talk about a little bit of my time in the military, but I'd rather just talk about my purpose. Now I'm like, right on, man, let's do it. And the biggest studs I've had on the show have all said that. Like, we'll cover it a little bit. And this podcast obviously is not about, just the time in the military and stuff. But yeah, so so to say I'm over it, I'm pretty much over it. It's just in the beginning of my career as a podcaster, I was kind of like, I don't know, man. But now I'm like, nah, it's cool. Like,
that makes sense. And I think I had the same epiphany. I think what truly helped me was, we have a mutual friend and I got to meet him in person. And when I met him in person, like, this is someone that I followed, and my wife found out once we're married, found out, oh yeah, I know him. We're friends. I'm like, well, you what?
Yeah.
So we went to go meet him, and I get to meet him, and I'm just like, and I'm just in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not even going to mention what my failures, because I know, and he's like, dude, he is the nicest individual. He doesn't care about that stuff. Like, what he cares about is like, you're just a good human being, a good man, and same thing. It was the same one, and you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's just, I think the good ones are like that. I think there's some guys, they're gonna have that God complex. Like, they think they are God. They think they are everything because they got a trident or they got a tab, and it's like, look, one day that's gonna go away, and you have to come to the real world. And guess what? Like, in the real world, very few people are still living off that, and the ones that are living off of it, it's gonna end one day.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it, man. And I think like the people that never joined the military probably don't understand that. They just see it as, it's kind of like ball. Like, you're a pro ball player, and then what happens when you retire? Like, a guy brought up a Chicago Cub player today at work, oddly enough, and I can't remember his name, but he was a World Series MVP. And I was telling my client, I was like, man, I forgot about that dude. Cause I'm like you, man, I don't really watch pro sports anymore. My son plays sports, so like I'll kind of keep up with some of the players, but I'm not like a big pro sports guy anymore, just because I've got too much crap to do. Honestly, I'm focused on my life and what I'm doing, and I just don't. But I was the guy that put athletes on a pedestal. I've made a idol out of the SEAL teams. I mean, all that stuff. So I can relate to the identity piece, because it took me a long time to find who I was supposed to be. But yeah, man, I think it's great that you're courageous enough to come on here and to talk about that, because there's so many men that have gone through selection process and then not graduated. It is a lot, man. It's a lot to carry, and it's easy to kind of carry that shame and not want to own it, and just realize, hey, that wasn't for me. I've got other stuff to accomplish in life, and you can still be a productive, human being without having a certain warfare device. And I keep saying warfare device because in Navy, but
no, you're spot on though. And I think anyone that's in the service, I don't care what branch you're in, and you didn't make it, like, and this is actually, that same person told me that, he's like, you're just as important in the military as I am. You serve a job. It doesn't matter what your job is. You serve this country. You raised your hand. You still sacrificed, and you gave something for this country. And those were his words. He's like, you are just as important as the guy kicking in doors. And it doesn't matter what you do. You're the cook. You're the driver. And it's not this, you're the cook. No, you're the guy that we can eat. You're the person doing this. Like, everyone has their place. And it's like, you should be proud of that. And no matter what. And we're allowed to make jokes on each other, of course,
Yeah.
But it's like, at the end of the day, like, you're still proud. Like, there's still pride there. And I think anyone that gives that sacrifice and says, I'm going to serve my country, I think you serve, like, and this gets back to, you're serving something greater than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that allows us to be the best version of ourselves.
What about Adam? What about coaching? Like, if someone wanted to work with you one-on-one, how would they get in touch with you?
Easiest way, adamj.johnson.com, my website. You can book a call for me, book a discovery call. You can get on I have a school, the SKOL school, like Alex Hormozi. I have a school at RTD community over there. We do one-on-one coaching. I do keynotes, workshops. So anyone that wants to book me for anything. Lately, I've been doing more keynotes. I've been doing more of that B2B stuff, but I do have a little bit of coaching. I do one-on-one as well. And it's all over on the website. So adamj.johnson.com.
And I'll make sure and put that in the description so people can find it. I'll put your IG on here too, because I know we're all in this day and age on Instagram. So so I have a serious question for you, man.
Yes.
If there's someone that's watching tonight, let's say it's a guy that joined the Army and he had these aspirations of being a pipe hitter, and they didn't work out, and he's struggling, man. He feels lost. He feels unworthy of anything. If you could sit down with that man right now, what would you say to him?
Find who you are. What's your identity as you as a person? And I think that's the biggest takeaway in my life, was Stop trying to put your identity into your job or into a tab or into a position, and figure out who you are, your morals, values, your spirituality, your compass in life. And that is who you need to be. And everything else, I truly believe, once you understand that, everything else kind of falls in line.
It's good advice. I got to ask you about the flag. What's up with the Union Jack flag behind you?
I love it. Everyone does. So I'm about to get out of the military. We're having a new house built in Arizona right now. I get my own office. My wife and I have to share an office. So my wife is a keynote speaker, author. That's actually her book right there. Laura Johnson. She is the grit girl. She speaks on grit. She is the grit development expert. Her story is absolutely amazing if you haven't heard it. And we share an office. So she is originally from the UK. So
Nice.
she was born and raised there. She came over here with a laptop and $0 and built a multi-million-dollar company from nothing. Not even having she didn't have a social security number at the time. And she built up her life, and she now is an American citizen. She's been an American citizen for over 2 years now. So she
Very cool.
is a US and loving it over here, but we still embrace the Union Jack. We go back there. Her parents still live in the UK. So we do embrace that culture as well. And there's lots of good jokes. So many good jokes. We always won though. I always like, hey, remember who won? Okay.
Yeah.
You're on the winning. You're on the winning side now. So congratulations.
That's right. There's a reason you're over here.
Yes.
That's awesome, man.
Exactly.
Well, I ask every guest this, and I'm going to ask you tonight, is there like a quote, like a favorite quote you have, or something like an inspirational quote or scripture from the Bible, something you want to share with the audience?
The one thing that resonates with me right now, and it's been work because I'm building up my businesses, and it's from Alex Hormozy, and it's like, do so much work that it is impossible for you to fail. Like, imagine, like, you have to do work so hard. I want you to, it doesn't matter what you want, like, just do so much work that it would be like unthinkable of how you couldn't succeed. And that's, after hearing that every morning, that's what I repeat that in my head. Just do more, do so much where it's impossible for you not to succeed.
How do you avoid burnout like that?
I think that right now, that's my family. My family is there, and that's what it gives me. When I hold my new daughter, and I hold her, and I look at her and my wife, that is how I balance that. They're my rock, and I think without them, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing to this level. I think I was still sober before I met my wife, so I'd be sober, but to be pushing myself, she pushes me in ways that I never knew were possible.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I'm going to share a scripture tonight. I've got Book of James, chapter 1, verse 12. Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life. And it's funny, we were in the Book of James on Sons of Thunder on a Sunday, but the Book of James, for y'all that are watching and maybe not familiar with it, is all about trials and tribulations. And at the end of the day, Jesus is the center, the foundation. Christ, if you can put Christ in your life or something greater than yourself, a higher purpose. For me, it's Jesus, but it will keep you on the right path. It will keep you grounded. And like we talked about tonight, it will really help in the identity piece, because you're not going to focus on that tab or that, being on a certain team or whatever. You're going to be focused on what truly matters. And Adam, I'm really glad you shared that your family, because family is so much more important than a job title or a career.
100%.
It really is, man. It really is. As we're closing out tonight, man, is there anything else that's on the horizon for you that you want to share with our audience tonight? Like any other, I know you talked about keynote speaking, talked about your coaching, talked about the books you're working on. Is there anything else that you want to share with our audience tonight?
I'm just excited to be a civilian again. And that happens at the end of January 31st of next year. That is it. So I'm excited it's going to be interesting, because I've been doing this military thing for so long that, like, people don't realize they don't serve. Like, I'm going to be a free person in some ways.
Yeah.
It's just, not that I want to do anything bad. It's just, I no longer have to, I'm my own person again. And I'm not no one, I don't have a mom or a dad I have to call and get permission to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I was in OCS, it was one of the most freeing moments of that when we graduated was wearing jeans again. Because you couldn't wear jeans for 12 weeks. You went off base for Liberty, you had on a uniform. So it was like, it sounds dumb, but it was like, it feels good to just wear like a t-shirt and jeans again.
I want my beard back. So I had 82, because I had 82 days of paternity leave. I got to grow a full beard.
Oh, yeah.
And then I had to shave it off. And I just want my beard. I can't wait till February of next year where I can grow my beard again. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna close this out with a prayer tonight, man.
All right, brother.
All right, here we go. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to sit down with Adam and to hear his powerful testimony, Lord. I pray that it will just impact others in a positive way, especially those that have served in the military or in the first responder world, where they can have a greater purpose than just a job or career identity. I pray this episode will reach those out there that are looking for purpose, that are lost and need direction. Lord, I pray that it pleased you tonight, and also pray you'll bless Adam and his family and just bless him as he continues to help others and inspire others, Lord. I'm so just grateful to hear that he's sober. And as someone who struggled with alcohol like myself, I'm just glad to hear that another brother has overcome that demon, Lord. And I just pray that anyone listening that may be struggling with alcohol, they can hear this testimony and it will help them. Thank you for all that you do, Lord. Thank you for this platform. It's in your most holy name I pray. Amen. Thanks for checking out the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast. Be sure to smash that bell, like and subscribe to the channel. New episodes drop every week. We're also on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcast. Adam, this was a blast, man. Thank you so much for coming on tonight, brother.
Steve, I appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, man. God bless you, and thank you again.
Later, brother.